Hello, students. This is Professor McDermott. It's Monday, June 13th, about noon. And by now, you've probably either already taken or are about to take your first exam. So we'll get that behind us. And also the article assignment. I saw that all 12 of you have turned in the article assignment. So thank you for that. I'll be grading those two items over the next few days, and I'll let you know when I've posted the exam grades. However, one warning, if you look at the grade book and it looks at first like you failed your exam, don't panic because the multiple choice part of the exam will be graded automatically by D2L, but I have to go in and manually grade the short answer and the essay. So all that's going to show up at first immediately will be your multiple choice answers, but the points for the short answer part and the essay part will not show up until I grade them. So if it looks like you failed, you probably didn't. Keep that in mind. All right, a little recap of the discussions on imperialism. The first document was by an author named Josiah Strong, and Strong was a strong supporter of U.S. imperialism. He really wanted this country to get into the business of getting colonies overseas. And Group 1, I thought you did a very nice job of bringing out the main reasons he offers for that. Let's see here. Yes, and the answer that Ashlyn posted to question 1, Strong believed that, according to the Darwinian theory, America's people, the Anglo-American people of white Anglo-Saxon Protestant background, were the superior race in the world, and also the best Christians in the world, by which he meant the purest, most Protestant Christians in the world, and therefore it was good for them to educate uncivilized Catholics, for instance, like the Filipinos. And finally, the prosperity of the United States, he also uses as an argument that the U.S. is destined to take over the world because we have this gift for money making and for business. So, in your discussion of question 2, first group, I thought you did a very nice job of bringing out the difficulties that a reader experiences when dealing with this document, because there is somewhat a kernel of truth there, as Jennifer said. The U.S. did have, fantastically fertile soil, a very stable and good government, and a rapidly growing economy. But I think you were all uncomfortable with the direction that Strong spun this data, and the idea that white Anglo-Saxon Protestants in the U.S. were free, therefore, to impose their views on people from the rest of the world, different nations and different religions. So, very interesting discussion, Group 1. Now, Group 2, you had William McKinley's final address at Buffalo just before he was assassinated. And even though McKinley doesn't really talk about imperialism per se, the theme of this speech is why it is impossible for the U.S. to continue to be isolationist. And you brought out a number of good points, Group 2. Basically, that it's necessary in order for business to grow and economies to grow and trade to grow that, first of all, different nations share ideas with each other, and second, that they engage in a kind of friendly rivalry and push each other on to greater achievement. And another argument, I think, from McKinley's speech is that basically the world is getting smaller, the world is shrinking, according to McKinley. And there's no way for the U.S. to hide anymore because with modern ships, with the telegraph, with railroads and so forth, transportation times have gone down. Communication is so much easier, and the U.S. can't just pretend that we're all alone in the world anymore. We have to engage. Group 3, you had a document by the Anti-Imperialist League group that I mentioned in my lecture with Samuel Gompers, Jane Addams, Mark Twain. A lot of famous Americans joined this group to protest against imperialism. And I thought you hit on all the major reasons why they were against imperialism, especially in the Philippines. They saw it as simply un-American, as a violation of the principles of the Declaration of Independence, the idea that all men are created equal. They didn't want us to have control over groups of people in the world who would not be full American citizens, who would be considered sort of second-class individuals. And specifically, they felt we had betrayed the Filipinos because we got into the war supposedly in order to help them, but then we decided to take over their country instead of giving them independence. And so for all these reasons, the Anti-Imperialist League was against imperialism, and it seemed Group 3, like you, were very favorable to their arguments. And I think that's true of a lot of Americans nowadays. I think that we are in a somewhat isolationist trend right now after the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and many Americans have adopted an anti-imperialist, pro-isolationist stance once again. It'll be interesting to see how the pendulum continues to swing back and forth on that issue. All right, a couple notes on the Module 4 that is coming up. The topic is Theodore Roosevelt. And so you're going to have first a video about Theodore Roosevelt, second a lecture on Theodore Roosevelt, and you'll also have some documents on the subject of Gilded Age reform. Roosevelt was a great reformer, and he was allied with people like Jacob Riis, and so that's our theme for this module. Just a note on the video, you only need to watch the first hour and 15 minutes. There will be a discussion on the video, and there will be a discussion on the documents. And so please watch the video before watching the lecture. If you run into any problems displaying the video, if you're using Internet Explorer, you might try Google Chrome or Safari, because sometimes those browsers work better with D2L than Internet Explorer does. Okay, well, I think that's everything. As always, I'm available throughout the day via email and during my office hours. If there's anything whatsoever I can help you with, please let me know.